What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another live stream. I made it. Episode 123. You heard it correct. 123 consecutive weeks of the Camera Junkie live stream. And as always, I thank you for taking the time and spending it here with me. My name's Lewis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie. If this is your first time here, please be sure to introduce yourself in the chat so that you can get the nice, warm welcome from the Camera Junkie crew. And with that being said, let's see who's here. Right off the bat, we have Marine X. And that's all I see right now, but we'll wait for everyone to just start trickling in. He actually has a question right off the bat. Oh, everything just started popping in. As we can see, we got Sammy here. Nice avatar, Sammy. What's up with that? Check that out. Looking good, man. I like it. All right, let me just address that here and resize that there. All right, so we can see that again. He's saying, what's up? Hey, Mr. Camera Junkie. How are you doing, Sammy? Once again, like the avatar. We also have Mr. Moderator saying hey to the fam. Paul, remind me to message you real quick in Discord once we're done here. Something that I wanted to ask you earlier today, but see if we can maybe implement for next week. Just an idea to see. I wanted to run that by you. All right. We also have Chip saying hello. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out. And we actually do have a question here from Marine X. Says ZV1F a few months later, thoughts? I think it aged well despite its first reviews. I do think so as well, because I can talk about it. I've been using it on a second channel project, so to speak, and I've been basically dedicating that camera to that project to kind of like a proof of concept that if you're making good enough content, no matter what, even though I have all the experience and the know-how of making the image look the best, I'm just kind of using it in its automatic mode. And I've just kind of English, Lewis. I've been trying to kind of like just remove that burden, so to speak, and just make it as easy as possible and use the camera in the way that a novice will, in the way that someone who is not gonna put it into manual, and just use it in its automatic settings to see what type of image I can get, and in hopes in that project that the image quality is not really what's most important in that side. So I dedicated the camera to do so. But the more that I use the camera, the more that, how can I say, it's really surprising that it's not as limited as you would think it would be. And that's a good way of putting it. These features that Sony put into their cameras, their S&Q mode, just that at 120 frames, 4x slow motion, it doesn't carry audio, which is a negative. But if you're doing a quick little b-roll, then that's a positive, because that's just something that you're gonna add on top of your spoken word aspect on that video anyway. So I've been able to get some pretty good slow motion, and I call it like a little compact b-roll machine. And I got some accessories for it, a couple of things to make it better for me. One of them that I would recommend, and this is only if you feel that it's not wide enough and you want to use it for vlogging handheld, which is a wide angle lens adapter, just like so. So just like the Ulanzi, anything like that, get yourself a step-up ring from 49 to 52 millimeter, and then be able to throw that Ulanzi adapter right on there to really widen out, and it really makes a huge difference. And it helps out even with active stabilization on that camera, because how it crops in a little bit more, it gives you that width back into the shot, and it also doesn't, like, if you get really shaky with the camera, you might see the edges come in with a little bit of vignetting, and you'll see the active stabilization working that out. But besides that, when I've come across that part in my footage, all I do is just like zoom into the shot until that's like removed, and zooming into like 105 107% has been all that I've needed to do to kind of save the shot, and that's just in case it got really shaky. But I've been pretty much enjoying it, and you see me looking up is because it's my overhead shot. So just to show you, it's what I've been using for all my overheads right here. So this is the ZV-1F. This is 720p directly through the USB-C cable. So just as an overhead shot and something like that, it is ideal because I can just simply just plug it in basically and have the camera charging. And as the camera charges, I'm still able to use it as an extra camera on the live stream without the need of an extra video capture card. So very cool piece of kit. Yeah, like it doesn't have S-Log. Oh no, it actually has S-Log, which is very interesting. Some of these cameras don't have that feature, that recording capability. But with a nice LUT that you'll be able to work with, get correct exposure, you're still able to match this camera with a lot of the higher end cameras that Sony has. So it's a great starter camera and a great companion camera for someone like me who's already into the ecosystem and knows more or less how to use their menu system at max. But it's so compact, so lightweight, that it has been kind of like my go-to camera to just have with me at all times as of late. The one that I had prior to that, I've mentioned here before, is my old school. This is the NEX6 super thin profile, right? APS-C interchangeable lens. I usually run that with the 20mm pancake lens, but that's what I'm using right over here. So right now I have that one set up there as the lens. So I have my Sigma 30mm on this body, but that's just me experimenting and running around with the setup. As you can see today, I really didn't put any topic because I wasn't able to settle on anything, and there was more or less like updates to a bunch of things instead of one big thing that happened in the last week. So I just wanted to touch on some of those as we just hang out. As we just hang out and I just read through comments. I see Sly sliding in here. See what I did there? Say, hey Lewis and fellow camera junkies, happy Easter. That's right, happy Easter, happy holiday to everyone who's celebrating. And everybody's still saying hi to each other. We got John saying hi to the crew. You can see Mr. Moderator giving them the love. All right, so one thing that I wanted to bring up is that as the Camera Junkie crew, right, we are dangerously close to 1,400 subscribers on the channel. So very close to 1,400 members of this Camera Junkie crew, which is really exciting because it's not something that's just been like everyone who's here is part of it knows that it's just been a slow and steady growth. And I can't emphasize how much I value that, that it's not just something out of random and a piece of content that is kind of like out of the norm or out of context that has amassed a certain amount of, subscribers, but yet the people who are part of this crew know very well who they are subscribed to. So it's something that I'm very proud of, and we're just about 4 subscribers away from 1,400, which is 1,300 more than I would have ever thought, right? Or more than what I wanted. But we keep moving that goalpost, and now once we reach 1400, the next step is 1500. So that's the only thing that's been going on as of late, but that we have to look forward to, and it's just making the goals bigger so that we can continue to strive and reach more milestones. Says John says, I remember watching streams when you were at 800. Wow, yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's not something that's been explosive, and I take pride in that. It's like I said, the people who are here know exactly what they're subscribed to, and that's something that I can take pride into, right? Because it's been part of my effort. But to do my part in this as well, to try to get those numbers above, I am going to be doing some more pre-recorded content, because I have been doing a lot, but not for myself, not for my own channels. So just this week I did 18 short pieces of content for Ecamm, and that's not including the podcast and all the other things. But this week looks like another one, just the same, with another bunch of short clips to get onto social media sites, so mostly vertical, but they still take the time, especially when you're dealing with captions, which Mr. Paul, the moderator, could tell you it's just extremely time consuming, no matter how good you are at it. But another update that I am actually really happy to bring to the Camera Junkie crew: a couple of weeks ago we talked about the shutting down of DP Review, which is very, very sad that Amazon decided to shut that system down. But we actually got an update from Amazon, and we have a little bit of information of what's going to happen now, because I think things have changed ever since they heard the outcries and the pouring out of the loss over DP Review, and the fact that it is going to stay up and running and available as an archive. So every piece of content that's already been written, that has been put up, the ability to backtrack and compare older lenses to something current and new coming up, it will be on you to actually create your own review. But we're not going to lose the archive, and they're extending the period of it being available and them actually still creating content for the platform until the archive is complete. So that's been the update that we got on the DP Review, which is great news for all of us enthusiasts who really utilize that platform to the most of our capabilities, right? We all have different levels, but we all use it to our best, and it not being available for future generations and people who are just now getting into photography and videography was going to be a real downer, a real hurt to the entire industry and enthusiasts of all from all different walks of life. But the fact that now it's going to stay around, it's going to be an archive that we can still go to online in the future, I think is just the best of the both worlds. They said they're still going to be trickling out new content, new articles in the time while they're archiving it, which sounds also good for the staff and the people who are still working there, that they have a little bit more time to try to see where they're going to move on from this, or if not, maybe downsize it to a point where they can just keep putting less articles, but maybe continuous articles onto the website so that it can continue to stay relevant from here on out. So that's really good news in my eyes. Another update, another bit of rumor, but this one was actually hinted from the executives of Sony, is that we are to await or to be looking forward to a new flagship APS-C camera still to come in the future. Now, I'm not even sure if it'll be this year that it'll be announced or anything like that. even though Sony still has plans to announce cameras further on this year. But they touched on the fact that they have that new 26 megapixel sensor that comes in the FX30, and that's kind of what they insinuated, that is going to be basically the platform where this new line of APS-C cameras is to come. So that's also some good news. I did want to mention to you, because I haven't done so already, just a little bit of personal information. Was it last week? There's so much has been going on, but a week ago or 2 weeks ago. No, it was a week ago. So yeah, last week. I got stuck on it. But okay, last week I was producing this secret show that we're hoping does well. So the secret aspect is that it's basically a pilot that we were pitching, or that they are pitching to a corporate, type of broadcasting network, something in the regards of MSNBC. And I was very, very fortunate to be the producer of this show, and we're looking to hopefully have some information coming into early May to see about producing that. And I have been fortunate enough to be in contact with said individuals. He's an Emmy award-winning presenter, which is very interesting, and it went off very well. That happened last week, but I forgot to mention it, so I wanted to bring it up. So that's good news on the Camera Junkie front. So that was a really cool opportunity. It was kind of like last second, but I was able to pull through, and because of it, we see hopefully if they pick up the pilot, we'll be seeing more of those productions coming out in the future. And if so, then I'll be able to share more with you, because as of right now, it's still kind of like under intellectual property, where it's just, we're hoping for the best. So fingers crossed. Another thing that came out this past week was the new wireless Rode Me microphones. Now, the Rode Wireless Go's are the kit that you can buy for like $300, and they come with a receiver and a couple of microphones so that you can place them in various places. That piece of kit, the Wireless Go, is still worth every cent that they're charging for it. They just have a lesser, more inexpensive version available now in the new wireless Me setup. So the wireless Me's are not like the Wireless Go's for a couple of reasons. One of them, that it only has one receiver and one transmitter, but the receiver also has a microphone that works as a second transmitter. So if you were using the microphone on camera and one on talent with the Wireless Go setup, you can save just about half, because the price is, I believe, $150 for the wireless Me setups. One main negative is that they do not have internal recording like the Wireless Go's do. The Wireless Go's actually have the ability to record internally, so even if they lose connection with the transmitter and your audio cuts out, you're gonna have a steady onboard file that you can then re-download, synchronize, and save the file, or save the video, save the edit. And that's very it's really convenient to be able to have that, because it also allows you to record completely off camera. And because the Wireless Go's have such great battery life, you can basically have a recorded audio dialogue of like your entire day if you were a vlogger and that's the type of content that you're creating, or a presenter that's going to be going on stage speaking. You will still be able to have a lavalier microphone on person that captures great audio for anything that you need. That's where the wireless Me's do not have that internal recording, and most likely don't have the memory for it. They pretty much can do everything else that the wireless Go's can, except that they also do not have any screens on them. They have some indicator lights that you can learn the sequences of lights that will basically let you know what type of mode those microphones are in. But at the current time, what you would have to do is basically utilize a like an app on your iPhone to configure the microphones, both the transmitter slash microphone and the the transmitter microphone alone. But at half the price of the wireless Go's, it's still a great option. And I will still have to see, because I still think, because of price and what you get out of them, the DJI microphones are still better, because they carry that feature of being able to record internally as well, like just solo recording for the price point. Because I believe the DJI with the case, that's also protective case, but also a recharger setup, and basically external battery bank, allowing you to connect maybe your iPhone if it dies to it to recharge, is at $200. So that's also an option. I think I've been well overdue for one of these like wireless lavaliers, so I've been really looking into that. But for those of you who are like me, right, and might dabble into the used market, I should be able to get a pretty good deal on the wireless Go's, which are the ones that I want, because now the new ones are out, and maybe somebody just wants to have FOMO, doesn't really know how to use the original set, and doesn't use it with all of its functionalities. So maybe I'll be able to get a good deal on some, or someone that has bought the DJIs and prefers them. I can still get my hands on some secondhand wireless Go 2s and be all good in the hood, if you know what I mean. All right. Another thing that came out basically this past week, because last week we talked about the ZV-1F, right? We got into all of that. But something that came out last week that I did not mention, because we were dedicating and talking about the ZV-1F, is this new Insta360 Flow iPhone gimbal, or phone gimbal. And apparently it's really good. I haven't gotten a lot of information, not even the price on it, but you know what, we're here live. Let me check it out right now. I can find the price at least. Let's open this up. So we're gonna open up a new window here. Let's just go to B&H real quick to get that information. Insta360 Flow. And that's the whole thing. Might be looking into it just because of the Flow podcast. Okay, this is $159 for the gimbal stabilizer. It's foldable, very compact. 3-axis stabilization, deep track 3.0, AI stable subject tracking, and I believe one of the key features is that it has a new application that, paired with it, allows you to record both in front and back. And it's kind of like a what's this app? I'm gonna have to pull it on my phone. Filmic Pro, that's what I was trying to remember. It's kind of like a Filmic Pro type app that gives you a lot of functionality over your smartphone's cameras, but it's built into the software with the Insta360, so looks very interesting. That's something that's come out just in this past week as well. Haven't been able to dabble too much into that as far as information. Been a hectic week. Another thing that's coming up that I wanted to mention that I haven't, and now I have a little bit more information. Paul could probably help out in dropping in a link, is about the Ecamm Creator Camp, and that's going to be happening in October. And now that things have been settling out, some emails have been going out to said individuals who have been pre-signed up to the email list. Paul, if you can drop that in for me, I'd appreciate it. You can go into the link and then actually sign up to see if you're interested at being at that event. It's gonna be a more of a hands-on creator camp, because the idea is to actually build on the skills that you have, or create new ones that you could actually utilize once you leave the camp. So the idea is that if you go there with nothing, by the time you're done with the creator camp, you will have created something, because we're going to have stations and events and things set up to basically create content, like, in a new way, and giving you the experience of doing that on another level. So if you're interested and want to be a part of that, that's going to be happening in October, in Massachusetts, in that Ecamm headquarter area. So really excited. I'm going to be a part of it. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be making it out there. So if you are interested, hit up that link, and you'll be sent the information, so that exactly and are up to date to what's going on with the Ecamm Creator Camp. Now, some of you know. Now, this is a completely different subject, so we're moving on. Just kind of jumped into it. Some of you know that I'm a big fan of the UFC, and that's something that is one of the few sports that I still follow. And today, the UFC is right here in my neck of the woods. It is it's taking place here in Miami. So UFC 279, I believe it is, tonight. And because of it, it got me thinking. I'm like, it's been 20 years since the UFC has graced the South Florida scene. But it got me thinking about my photography and being, I would love to be able to be in the pit for one of these events in the future, and taking photographs of my favorite, martial art athletes. One of the Camera Junkie crew members, Art Alameda, he's actually been doing a lot of that on the West Coast, but he's been doing it with boxing, and he's been getting a lot of experience, a lot of great footage, a lot of great shots, and I'm really excited for what's going on with him. But it's also, it kind of gets those juices flowing for the photography aspect and using it to the max. So I'm just putting it out there right now that most of these UFC events happen on Saturday nights. You guys know, because I mention them, that they're happening while the Camera Junkie live stream is going on. But I'm letting you know ahead of time that if such event were to make itself available, and I am available to partake in said event, I will still be doing a live stream some way, somehow. I might do it a bit earlier, but I will never miss the Camera Junkie live stream on a Saturday night. And that's something that I just wanted to throw out there. Even though those are future goals and aspirations that I have, I will still be here for the Camera Junkie live stream. Okay. And I don't think I've seen him yet. Let me go back to the chat here. We got everybody hanging out. We got Kevin. How you doing, sir? He's hanging out. He's saying what's up to all. And that's actually a good thing. Has everyone remembered to hit that like button? It goes a long way. It's highly appreciated. Oh, thank you, sir. Congrats on the secret project. It says, love the camera views. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's no hands, right? I just have that all set up through my Ecamm. And if you have any questions, put a Q:, in front of it, and I'll be happy to answer it, even if it has to do with Ecamm. Usually I do a podcast recording or have a theme topic for my live streams on a weekly, but this week was just too busy, and I had nothing and not really a lot to go on for the week. As you can see, one thing that I was looking for was to see if Randy was here. I haven't seen Randy in the chat yet, but just if you do speak with him or see him through the interwebs, please wish him a great happy birthday. His birthday, I believe, on Tuesday. He's going to be 66 years old. So Randy, happy birthday. I wish you the best all on your day. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that. And Mr. Moderator here is demonstrating the Q colon and how to do that for your question. But that's also another update. Me and better said, let's rewind that. Mr. Moderator Paul and I will be doing the Ecamm live stream demo this Friday the 14th. So we got all that set up, which is another thing that's on the docket. So if you want some more Mr. Camera Junkie and want to see Paul on camera, we're going to be doing an Ecamm live demo on Friday, and I'm excited for that as well. And yeah, something that I had actually mentioned already before, which was, I'm sorry, Aiden distracted me. Something that I mentioned before was that I am coming out with a new ZV-1F video for D, like we mentioned at the top of the live stream. I am working on this video that should be coming out within the week, and that's fingers crossed. And that's basically it when it comes to updates. So yeah, he had asked me about the ZV-1F camera and how it's doing. I have to just reiterate, it has surprised me with what it's been able to do. 100 megabits. It's I really wish I can say a lot of people trashed on this camera because of the features that were written on paper. So this is going to be my quick and simple take on this camera. There have been many camera reviews that I have seen that people are talking about a camera, whether it being good or bad, based specifically on specs. In this case that I want to reference to, let's say people have given a camera a positive review, right? A glowing review because of the specs that were presented. I'm not gonna say no names. Canon R8. Like when Canon was advertising that camera in particular, they were talking all about the 8K and we're the first ones with 8K and blah 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 blah. And when they got it in their hands, the files were super huge. They were problematic. The camera would overheat because of it. A bunch of different problems. So everyone went and jumped on that camera and bought it strictly because of the specs and nothing else. And then when they got the cameras in their hands, they saw the actual limitations with 8K and everything that was encompassing with that type of footage. In this case, I think it's kind of the reverse aspect. I think people saw the camera, and because Sony has been so good with autofocus for so long, with their phase detect autofocus. English. Let me get something to drink here. And Sony, with their phase detect autofocus, being like the leaders in autofocus, to come out with a camera that does not have that, people right away were saying like, oh my god, why would you go backwards? This and that. It doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. But the biggest crap that people took on this camera was basically the autofocus, and it does suffer because of it. I'm not gonna sit here and try to tell you, hey, this camera is the best autofocus or just as good. No, but it's not bad. For example, if Panasonic's non-phase detection autofocus that they had for years prior to their last iteration or their last release of camera was as good as Sony's non-phase detect autofocus, you wouldn't be hearing people talking crap about Panasonic, or you wouldn't have heard that, in the past. Because even though it doesn't have phase detect, the one thing that I've noticed is that it works just about the same, but definitely not as fast. It is a much slower autofocus. So if you have it on a tripod, if you have it set up, or even as a camera, as your main web camera connected, like I have it as my overhead, just via the USB-C, this camera is going to do great for you. It's going to exceed anything that you're going to basically need it for. And it still has all the touch to focus capabilities. So it might not have the phase detection points and things like that. I understand. And like I said, definitely not as fast. So if you're whipping the camera around, right, and you're going back and forth from your face to the ground to something else like that, that's where you might see it slow down just a bit, because of the simple fact that it just doesn't have the fastest autofocus. But if you work with it, know its limitations and know hey, just give it that little extra second so that it can read the image in front of it, I haven't had a problem with it at all. And the fact that I've been using a wide angle lens adapter on top of it, and it's still recognizing my face, my eye, and doing the whole thing just like all my other Sony cameras, it really does go to show you. And I believe it leans more towards the Sony Xperia 1 Pro cameras that are on their smartphones, because they also, to my understanding, do not have that phase detect. It's not available in the smartphone department. And because they were able to get such a good such good autofocus through the software and not so much through the optics on their smartphones, I think that's the same type of implementation that we're getting on this camera. But at the end of the day, you can't beat it for the price. All the things that you can do with this camera, and there's more that you can do than the limitations that it has. And one of the biggest limitations is the video codec, which is still 8-bit, but at the end of the day, my A6100 here and here, 8-bit codec. And once that's inputted into its highest fidelity into Ecamm, and I use Ecamm to produce that out on the live stream in 4K, it's all 4K and is being reimagined, so to speak, through Ecamm and then pumped out live. So once we're at that point, everything is a-okay. So I couldn't recommend that more. If it wasn't for the convenience, right? If it wasn't for the simple convenience that I have all of this set up here and I don't have to touch it, I might just do an entire live stream with the ZV-1F using it in 4K, right? Not using it through how I would say through the USB-C, limiting its quality because it's at 720, but actually being able to maximize it connected via HDMI to get the full 4K and see how the image looks, because there is a huge difference between not only 1080 to 4K, but definitely from 720 to 1080, which is the difference of what we call high definition to full high definition. And that was way back in like 2003. So, hey Roy, I see you snuck in here. Says, I have a habit of recording the ground by mistake anyways. Yeah, so you know what? If you're recording the ground, it doesn't really matter if it's not completely in focus, right? But let me see if you guys have any other questions here, or you guys have any any other questions about anything that you want to talk about before we head out tonight. Yeah, no, it looks like we're good. I'm just gonna go ahead and check this out again. Yeah, and that's it. All right, everyone, gonna be closing it out a little bit early tonight. I appreciate you all for hanging out here. I've had an exhausting week. Aiden's a little bit mad at me, so I'm gonna go play with him, because just in a nutshell, there's a toy or a set of toys that are his like absolute favorite, but require me to play with them. So for me to get any work done, I've had to try to wean him off of those toys and keep him entertained with other things. And what actually has ended up happening was that I left them out while I was cleaning, and he found them, and I was like, oh, no, we can't do this right now. So he's upset at me because he found them and I still didn't give it to him. So that's where we're at. But hey, we live and we learn, and now I'm gonna go do some things to make it up to him for him being upset. He's poking at me right now. He has no idea how much I love him. He has no clue. You, man, you. But everyone, thank you as always for hanging out. You make this the best part of my week. Next week I should have something a little bit more structured. That's the word. Man, I am running on fumes this week. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I am exhausted. There's been so much going on. But as always, how could I miss the best part of the week? This is like the most fun. So as always, I thank you all for hanging out here with me. My smile should be evident enough of how much I enjoy being live here on the Camera Junkie live stream. So back to it. Oh, that's right. Happy Easter. Yes, happy Easter to everyone. Just totally blanking on the current events that are happening right now. But yes, happy Easter to everyone. And we will see you all right back here next week. Same time, same place. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Camera Junkie live stream. It will be episode 124. It just keeps climbing. So as always, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next week. Talk to you.